Okay, so for the past 6 months, I've been doing social media for a marketing company. And in this time, I've done a lot of research and learned a lot of new skills that I didn't have before, and I thought I would share some of them with you today. So here's what I learned doing social media for 6 months. Now, 2021 was a very weird year for a lot of people, with a lot of businesses starting to work from home, and just in general, the bar for content creation done from home skyrocketed, and the market got a bit more saturated, more people started doing it, a lot more people started taking off, and it became a lot harder to compete in today's market of content creation. But that being said, it's not impossible. There are a lot of things you can still do to get your feet off the ground in terms of home done content creation. The biggest thing being managing your social media correctly. And I figured I would go through some of the best tips that I could think of that I have found through doing social media for marketing companies, managing businesses' social media, managing a business's social media, selling our service of managing social media to other businesses. And yes, I'm aware that, these tips aren't going to be, the holy grail, the Bible. They're not going to, they might not work for everybody. They might not be the best tips for everyone. Some people might disagree. And if you do disagree with anything I say, please put it down in the comments and tell me where you think I went wrong. Because I'm still learning with this process. I've been doing it for 6 months. There are some people out there who have been doing it for years and probably know a hell of a lot more about it than I do. But that being said, I'm going to give you the best tips that I can think of to grow your social media. So whether you're a clothing brand, a content creator, an esports organization, or just a general business owner, these tips should be relevant to you. These are going to be pretty general tips that should help anybody in any scenario. That being said, there is room for refinement for specific purposes. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is consistency. To manage your social media, you have to remain consistent. And I'm not talking about pumping out 10 or 11 YouTube videos a week, 10 or 11 Facebook posts a week. Like I'm talking about how consistent can you remain producing quality content that is going to help you get noticed, going to help you grow on social media. What we found most effective for our brand specifically was 3 to 4 Facebook posts per week of pretty decent content that we felt gave value to social media, with other posts going in between that weren't so much adding value as much as keeping the social media active. Now, bear in mind, this was quite early on. We've changed our plan because we felt that we weren't providing enough value through our social media, so we have branched out into doing different things. Most people like the idea of daily posts. For example, on YouTube, a lot of people like getting into the idea that posting a video every day is going to get you noticed more. That's not necessarily true. If this is going to sound very harsh, but if you're posting videos that suck, it doesn't matter how many you post. No one's going to watch. You have to decide on a decent schedule for how often you can post, remaining consistent in both quantity and quality, and you have to find that balance. If you post every day and the videos are great, a lot of YouTubers can get away with this. Jacksepticeye, Markiplier. There are a lot of vlogger channels that post daily vlogs at Casey Neistat. They get away with it because their content adds value to their brand. Now, that might not work for everyone. You may want to post once a week or twice a week and make sure you put all of your extra days or as much of your time as possible outside of work into creating engaging posts. And I think that brings me on to my next point that I'd like to talk about, which is planning. So you may assume that social media is as easy as, post to Facebook every day, post something off the top of my head on Twitter, add a couple of pictures into some social media, take a picture of the food I'm eating, take a picture of the place I'm going. And that doesn't necessarily work so off the cuff. There are so many influencers on Twitter that post very regularly. For example, the big streamers, Pokimane, Tim the Tatman, Dr. Disrespect. I can guarantee you 90 to 95% of their posts are planned in advance. Whether it's by themselves or by someone they pay to do it for them, their posts are planned. Planning is a massive part of social media. You have to plan, I would say plan as far ahead as you feel comfortable. You don't need to plan months in advance, but at least a couple of days. A great tool I always use to plan social media posts, I use it at work, I use it at home, is Google Docs. And the reason I use Google Docs is because it's free and all you need is a Gmail account to sign up. And it's so easy to use. It's basically Word, but online. You'll never lose your work, and it's very easy to bring other people in so they can help. Or if you happen to have someone else managing your social media for you, you can be added to those documents so you can give input on what they're adding, and you can create your own posts when you have the time and sort of give ideas to those people that are managing your social media. And by the way, no, this video is not sponsored by Google. I'm not getting paid to promote Google Docs, but if they want to, they know where to find me. Oh god, that was such a stupid joke. Personally, when I'm doing social media, I like to write the posts in the format of how they would appear on timelines. And I think that ties in well with point number 3, which is platforms. Now, the different platforms you can post to, each one has their own pros and cons. Each one has their own idea of how social media needs to be pushed, and each one requires its own planning. So the different platforms you can post to are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. Now those last two, TikTok and YouTube Shorts, I'm going to be talking about as one platform, if you will, because the planning would be very similar. The videos are of quite a similar nature that go up on those two different platforms. And yeah, I feel like as we get into this section, it would be a good idea to say that a lot of these tactics for planning each social media and a lot of the pros and cons have come from my own research. They are not necessarily standard pros and cons that you would necessarily hear. So I would say whichever platform you intend to use, do your research yourself as well. Make sure you understand what's going on and you understand how the algorithms work. This isn't going to be like the Bible of social media, okay? That's not what this video is for. It's just some basic tips to help you out as you're getting started. Very baseline knowledge needed to get your feet off the ground with social media. In terms of the first platform we're going to look at Twitter, because Twitter is probably the most lenient when it comes to planning. It is a very off-the-cuff social media. You can post what you want when you want. However, I would encourage some planning to go around those posts. Posts with hashtags tend to do quite well, and I think this is a good point to add, that when it comes to Twitter and Instagram specifically, hashtags are your friend. Hashtags, hashtags, hashtags. Use them. Make sure they stay relevant and make sure they accompany your post well. And obviously with Twitter, you have a character limit, so don't flood your tweet with hashtags. That's never a good look. On Instagram, yeah, some people do it. I'd say 6 hashtags for Instagram is a decent amount. For Twitter, I'd say 2 or 3. And that is enough to push you into discover pages and to people who follow different topics and all of that, while still remaining relevant to your post. And with talking about Instagram, I think it's a good time to talk about how that platform works. Now, Instagram is very image or video based. Videos, images, a collection of images, stuff like that. And that's where the hashtags can be a bit more engaging. You can relate them to pictures rather than your post itself. And the discover page on Instagram is fantastic. It's one of my favorites to go through at work and at home because it's such a variety of posts that it will recommend to you. And I feel Facebook can be grouped in with Instagram quite well because from the research that we've done and the information that we've gathered from analyzing our own social media is that images or posts that are accompanied by an image tend to do better in terms of getting pushed out into Facebook's algorithm. So just, it's something to keep in mind, you know? YouTube is the big one. Okay, it's the one that requires the most planning. It's the one that requires the longest sessions of sit down and think. Because each video has to provide some sort of value, whether it's entertainment value or educational value or just something people can have on in the background. Whatever style of video you want to make, everything has to be done well. And that requires a lot of planning. You need to plan out what, for example, a gaming video. You'll probably have an idea of what game you're going to be playing, but are you going to play it with friends? Are you going to play it solo? What are you going to talk about if you play it solo? Is it just going to be commentary? Are you going to commentary at all? Is it going to be a speed run, a challenge run? Are you going to engage with viewers? Is it going to be a highlights? Is it going to be a best of? Is it going to be a stream cut up into a video? A lot of planning goes into YouTube videos, and I think that's the one I'm going to dive into the least because of that. But yeah, and in terms of the last social medias, TikTok and YouTube Shorts, these are probably, along with Twitter, one of the less plan heavy ones. If you're scrolling through TikTok and you see a video you want to stitch it. If you see a trend you want to hop on it, you know? Record whenever you're free. But also try and plan some videos. There's very few that go completely off the cuff because the consistency won't be there. They may have a whole week where they think of no videos they could make. And that's a whole week where their TikTok channel just sits and collects dust. Now granted, TikTok and YouTube Shorts both are some of the best platforms to be discovered on because they constantly push even old videos. Like YouTube Shorts and TikTok are great for exposure because they constantly push your videos out. Doesn't matter how old it is, it doesn't matter when you made it, it doesn't matter how long it is. It will always be in people's sub boxes, For You pages, the YouTube Shorts Discover page. You know, they're very good platforms to get out there on. So if that's your social media of choice, be consistent. And when you're not consistent, make sure to use that time wisely, is all I can say. Regardless of what you use it for, just use it wisely. I think another big thing that people forget when doing social media, and this is the next point we'll be talking about, is interactions. Now, we have found that interactions come easiest on Twitter and Facebook, because you can get comments, you can get likes, you can get retweets out of people. So as long as your post is fun and engaging or provides that value that we were talking about earlier, whether entertainment or educational, people will interact. And don't be afraid to interact with people to spark interactions. So tweet at people, tweet at companies, but just don't be that guy that begs for follow, or that tweets people and expects a reply, or that tweets companies demanding sponsorships. Be courteous, be polite, just be nice people online. And in terms of your numbers, don't get too bogged down in the numbers, you know? Don't let the numbers control how you feel about the way you're managing your social media. Every single creator that you are familiar with that has multiple millions of followers or multiple hundreds of thousands of followers or subscribers, every single one of them started at zero. And whether you start at zero and you stay there for 6 months, or whether you explode into the social media ecosphere with a vengeance and you just blow up, don't let the numbers bog you down. I think you should always check them regularly, but I don't think they're as important as remaining consistent, remaining good quality, your mental health, your physical health if you're creating content that affects that, and just the general attitude you have towards social media. Social media is hard. It's hard. So if it doesn't blow up the first time, sit back, reflect on what you've done, look at if things can change, have a look on YouTube for some other tips from other people, probably more knowledgeable on this subject than myself. Don't be afraid to ask people, and don't be afraid to start again. A lot of places and a lot of people have to start again from time to time. It's just how the world works. So, yeah, check your numbers regularly, but don't be afraid of them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If any of the tips you think I made you felt didn't make any sense, or you felt I didn't go into enough detail, or you felt were just plain wrong, drop it down in the comments, let me know. If you enjoyed the video or found even one of these tips helpful, I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video. If you thought all the tips were trash and none of them helped, and you already knew everything, or you just didn't care and you just came here to dislike the video, give the video a dislike. No one on YouTube can see it, except me, so I'll know you didn't like it. And if you want to see any other content that I create, whether it be gaming, streaming, or other videos such as this that provide some sort of educational value, I hope, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, like my Facebook page, or follow me on Twitch. All the links to that will be down in the description. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, leave a like and sub. I've been Necessarily Purple. I'll see you guys later. Peace.